Hey everyone, 2024 was a great year for city building fans, but if you didn't find any titles to enjoy, don't worry, as here are 16 great city building games for you to get lost in. One thing is for certain though, each of these titles all do something a little bit differently that I really think helps shake up the classic city building formula. So let's not waste any more time and get started with the video. So first up on the list, we've got Synergy, a city builder that's for someone who wants something a little bit more laid back and really appreciates this kind of visual style, which I must say, who wouldn't? I mean, it looks like a piece of art, which I mean it kind of is, as it's inspired by the works of Jean Giraud, aka Mobius, and it really helps set the scene for a somewhat challenging yet rewarding experience of building a colony on an alien world. Now when I first played it on release, I must say it felt a bit empty, but since then the active devs have managed to churn out a lot more updates, and it's giving me a lot of hope for the future of this game. Now, this is more of an ecosystem city builder, where you need to build up your settlements, manage your workers, keep them happy, and help uncover the secrets of this alien planet. What's really cool is that every now and then you need to go on these expeditions to find out more about your environment and why you're here. The game also makes use of this neat looking progress tree so you can choose where you want to put in your time and effort, where making use of the plants for food and reusable energy to upgrade will really help and be your biggest priorities. But to me, the best parts were watching my settlement grow. I mean, just look at some of these buildings. They look so cool. It's still in early access though, so you can always wishlist it and come back to it later. But who is the game for? Well, if you're wanting a laid-back city builder, one that you can really take your time with and really appreciate these visuals, then I'd say definitely check out Synergy today. Then next on the list is Bulwark Evolution, which I must say is one of the most unique city builders I've seen in a very long time. It's created by a solo Dutch developer, so Hoi to you, and it's all about designing massive fortresses on perilous cliffs in a world dominated by the sea. Here you can choose how to play: chill, free build mode, strategic empire building, or full-blown conquest with airships and warbirds. The game's resource system is super creative. Instead of hoarding resources here, it's all about distance and logistics. The game also has these trade routes and faction diplomacy that add even more layers to the gameplay. But you can also just relax and build these epic fortresses if that's your vibe. Yes, the controls are a bit wonky, so maybe check out the demo first, but the dev is constantly updating the game based on the community's feedback, which is always a win in my book. So if you're into experimental city builders with a mix of chill and strategy, Bulwark Evolution is a solid choice. Then next on the list we have Citadelum, a city builder set in the legendary world of ancient Rome. It's inspired by the classics like Caesar 3 and Pharaoh, where you'll need to build and expand your settlement, gather resources, and then lead your legions into tactical auto battles. And yes, it might not be on the same level as those classics, but fans might still get some enjoyment watching your city grow. Naturally, you'll need to manage your city's water supply with aqueducts, set up trade routes, and then secure territories to grow your economy. But then you'll also need to navigate the whims of the gods, either appease them for gifts or risk their wrath. With each playthrough offering different mythological encounters and challenges, Citadelum will give you a unique blend of city building, strategic warfare, and divine intervention. And even though it might need some balancing and some other improvements, its difficulty might appeal to those who want a Caesar-like city builder. So if you want to relive the days of Sierra's city builders with a twist of those gods punishing or rewarding you, then definitely check out Citadelum today. Then next on the list is Dystopika, which might be the first cyberpunk city builder out there, well, besides Skid Cities. And yes, I say city builder, but games like this can rather be described as diorama builders, as they focus more on the chilled experience. Here you don't need to worry about micromanaging citizens or resources. Nah, here you can just sit back and create your perfect neon-soaked metropolis. You can set up things like towering holograms, massive billboards, and streets alive with procedural traffic and streetlights. It's super laid back though, no objectives, no stress, just pure creative vibes. And to me, there's just something so refreshing about turning off the win conditions in a game and just zoning out while your city grows around you. But if you really loved Cyberpunk 2077 and you'd want to have that similar experience but in a sandbox city builder, diorama builder, where you can just focus on creativity without worrying about micromanagement, then definitely check out Dystopika today. It might be some real fun. And if you're enjoying this video so far, maybe consider leaving a like or subscribe. It really helps with the algorithm, and it might also really help find more games for you to get lost in. Then next on the list is Fabledom, a fairy tale inspired city builder that's as wholesome as it is charming. In the game, you're going to be creating and growing a magical kingdom. Here you'll be managing resources, building cozy villages, and even interacting with neighboring rulers to help shape your realm's destiny. It does things a little bit differently here, like it's got this romance mechanic where you can court other rulers to help shape your kingdom's future together. But yeah, I think what will really draw you into this game is that it's got that fairy tale setting, complete with flying pigs, giants, and massive trolls. And it does have some cool features like you can customize your buildings, which adds a nice touch of creativity. And even though it's not perfect, it's definitely for those who are drawn to super laid-back gameplay with a focus on relaxing settlers-like mechanics and some whimsical encounters. So if you're looking for a cute, simple, cozy city builder with fairy tale vibes, maybe try out Fabledom today. Now next up, I'm going to throw a curveball in here with a game called Bellright. But Marco, this is a third-person open-world survival crafting game. Yes, I know, but just hear me out. See, the thing is, unlike other open-world survival games, this one has, yeah, you guessed it, city building elements. So I'm throwing in this wild card here just to help shake up the city building standard formula. In Bellright, you are framed for murder and you're on the run. But instead of hiding, you're building settlements, leading armies, and taking on an oppressive crown. The progression can also feel incredibly rewarding. Watching your camp grow into a thriving village is just so satisfying. You're going to be hunting, gathering, and crafting your way alone or with friends, which yeah, is highly recommended in order to survive. But then you can also focus on recruiting villagers to do all the heavy lifting for you. And yes, there is combat in the game. It's skill based and can be insanely fun, especially when you're leading your troops into battle. And yes, that being said, it's still in early access, but honestly, it just makes me so excited to see what's coming next. If you're into games like Valheim or Mount & Blade, but wanted something with some city building elements, Bellright is 100% worth checking out. Then coming up next on the list, we've got Polismos, a city builder that drops you into the sandals of an ancient Greek leader. Whether you're building Athens, Sparta, or your own secluded island Polis, your job is to balance diplomacy, trade, and government in order to thrive. This game has got tons of historical maps, deep mechanics, as well as this really neat looking ancient Greek aesthetic. It's not your typical plop and play builder either. Here you're going to be juggling family interests, city budgets, and the ambitions of your people, all while keeping external threats in check. And if this sounds fun, just be aware that this game comes with a much steeper learning curve compared to the other city building games, so be warned. And yeah, it also has a fair share of bugs, so maybe try out the demo first before jumping in. But for fans of history and strategy, this is a must try. So if you're ready to rule an ancient Greek city, then definitely check out Polismos today. Then next on the list, we've got the Universim, which came out of early access last year. And instead of managing cities here, you're going to be managing your own planets here as you guide a civilization through the ages. So yes, it is considered to be a god game too, so you'll be able to wield your godly power on your little peeps here like you're reliving the good old days of black and white, meaning that you can guide your citizens and nurture them, or just flat out destroy them. The gameplay is quite hands-off, as your citizens will handle that by placing their own buildings and whatnot, which is good and bad sometimes, so you really need to help them out a bit. And yeah, it might feel a little unfinished in some places, and you'll find the occasional bug here and there, but it really does a good job if you're looking for a game like, say, Spore from back in the day, but now you just want more godlike and city building elements. Its charming art style and sandbox-like gameplay mean that fans of god games and colony sims could also really enjoy it. So check out the Universim if that sounds like your kind of game. Then for something a lot more old school, literally, we've got Tlatoani Aztec cities. Here you'll be immersing yourself in a detailed Aztec city-states and its society, something you don't often see in games, and yeah, I really hope there's more games like this. All citizens are individually simulated with their own skills, needs, duties, faiths, moods, and daily routines, something I always enjoy about good city builders. And honestly, it's cool that this game is expanding into other civilizations, this time in the Mesoamerica region, where you need to do some diplomacy with other city-states, trade, build alliances, and conquer your enemies. It really gives me heavy Pharaoh or Caesar 4 vibes, and I'm really enjoying this art style. Plus, you get to engage with Aztec gods, festivals, calendars, and traditions like human sacrifice. And yes, it's still in early access, so I hope some quality of life improvements are coming soon, but I have seen some regular updates and there is a demo for you to try out. So if you like the old school vibes of games like Pharaoh, Caesar, and Zeus, then this will be right down your alley, and I definitely recommend checking out Tlatoani today. But now if you want some more strategy thrown into your city builder, well then up next is Terrascape. This is a chilled out city building game that mixes in puzzle elements with its card-based approach. The game is set in a hex-based world where you need to place down medieval buildings on the most optimal land possible. This means, for example, placing down buildings that harvest resources like the woodcutters or hunters' lodges next to trees or wild animals, or some more advanced structures next to other buildings. The aim here is to try and score as many points as possible. Eventually it'll give you this zen-like feeling, which damn, it's so satisfying. It reminded me a lot of Dorf Romantic and the Islanders, mainly due to its deck building gameplay mechanics and its board game-like appearance. The game itself looks incredible, it's received great reviews so far, and if you're looking for a relaxed city building experience, then maybe check out Terrascape today. Then for a city builder that is a little weird, but a lot of fun, it's Worshippers of Cthulhu. Instead of being a mayor trying to deal with traffic and taxes, here you're the leader of a cult trying to awaken the old one by building an efficient city. That means things like human sacrifices and performing eldritch rituals are marked on your to-do list in this H.P. Lovecraft themed city builder. The game blends city building with resource management and dark rituals, making every decision count as you try to awaken the old one. But it's not just about madness, you're also trying to forge cities across islands and manage production chains that are integral to the survival of your cult. Again, it's still in early access, but it is a promising start for an unusual take on the genre. So if you're into Lovecraftian horror and you just want something different from the classic city builders out there, then Worshippers of Cthulhu is definitely one to check out. And now please don't attempt to adjust your resolution, as up next we've got SimCity 3000 Unlimited. Forget about your complex mechanics and photorealistic city builders out there, as some of you just want to look at these pixelated buildings and cars. Yes, it's a city builder in its purest form, having you build up your town with even more features than the original SimCity 3000, coming with 4 new natural disasters and new buildings too. And yes, it has been out for a while on GOG, so you might want to get it there, but EA decided to release SC3K on Steam along with their other older titles too. And yes, that nostalgia is going to hit you hard, especially when that sweet jazz soundtrack kicks in. And the best part, it's only like $2 on Steam. If you struggle to get full screen support, don't worry, there are guides out there. I mean, I had to add this in my launch options and then I was good to go. So if you want to relive the good old days of city builders, you cannot go wrong with SimCity 3000 Unlimited, and it's definitely worth checking out today. Then next on the list is Laysara Summit Kingdom, a city building game with a slight twist. This game has you establish a thriving settlement on the challenging terrain of high mountains. In the game, you'll need to carefully plan and expand mountain towns, manage resource production chains, as well as meet the needs of your society, all while tackling hazards like avalanches and extreme weather. Each mountain you build comes with its own set of obstacles and opportunities, where the fun and challenge lies in building on the steep cliffs plus the logistics around that. And I think what will make it quite unique is that mountain-focused gameplay. You'll deal with avalanches by creating creating natural barriers or triggering them strategically, craft complex transport networks to move goods across cliffs and canyons, and even aim to build summit temples as the ultimate achievement. Plus, the lack of combat means that you can focus entirely on logistics and survival in this beautiful environment. And this game is also still in early access, so expect some gameplay bugs and much needed quality of life improvements. But if you're a fan of deep city building games and you want something with a fresh and challenging setting, maybe try out Laysara Summer Kingdom today. Now, I'll probably get some hate for including this title, but I feel like a 2024 city building game list would just be incomplete without mentioning Frostpunk 2. This is a city survival game that's all about expanding humanity's lost hope in a frozen post-apocalyptic world. Here you'll lead your city as its steward, managing its growth, resources, and the demands of your increasingly divided citizens. You'll also need to juggle decisions in a council hall, navigate faction politics, and try to keep your people alive in an unrelenting winter. What makes it unique though is the scale, which you'll either love or not really love. It builds on the original Frostpunk by adding massive districts, deeper faction integrations, and a multi-chapter campaign. And yes, many people might still prefer the original, which is still a fantastic game and definitely worth playing, but the second is just a completely different game altogether, with a much bigger focus on the macro level of management. So if you're a fan of survival games with tough moral decisions and you're looking for a post-apocalyptic vibe, then definitely try out Frostpunk 2 today. Then coming in at number 2, we've got Manor Lords, which is just this medieval city building masterpiece. This game is a history nerd's dream, with a gridless building system and mechanics inspired by real 14th century villages. You'll start with a tiny settlement and grow it into a bustling town, managing resources, production chains, and even seasonal challenges. The attention to detail here though is insane. Homes grow gardens, trade routes fuel your economy, and overexpansion really impacts the environment. But it's not just about city building. Manor Lords also throws in these real-time tactical battles where every soldier matters. Here you're gonna raise armies, defend your land, and expand your influence in a way that feels personal and impactful. And yes, it's still in early access. I feel like I'm a broken record here, but even now, it's still worth getting into. If you're a fan of medieval strategy or city building games with a touch of realism, Manor Lords is definitely worth checking out. And then last but not least, comrades, you can now rejoice as Workers and Resources Soviet Republic is in my number 1 spot. This is a Soviet-themed city builder where you're gonna turn a struggling country into an industrial superpower. In the game, you'll need to manage every aspect of your republic, building cities, setting up supply chains, and balancing trade with both Eastern and Western markets. You'll have to keep your citizens happy, all while running a planned economy that handles everything from education to transportation. But what really makes this game unique though is the deep logistics simulation. Everything from conveyor belts to pipelines needs to be meticulously planned. I mean, it's really not for the faint of heart. There's also a strong focus on loyalty and propaganda, with mechanics that'll let you influence your citizens or suppress dissent. So if you love games like Cities Skylines but crave more realism and complexity, then I highly recommend checking out Workers and Resources Soviet Republic today. And now before you go, I thought I'd throw in some honorable mentions for games that I still think deserve your attention. First up is Ostrov, which isn't on the list because it came out in 2020. But damn, if you've been disappointed by the recent city building games and you just want a solid title, look no further. In the game, you'll play the role of a governor in charge of an 18th century Ukrainian town. And yes, it's still in early access, of course, but with its slow pace, incredible ambience, and a vibe similar to, say, Banished, I had to include it here. This game gives you tons of possibilities here, as it allows for truly organic town layouts without the grid and angle restrictions on a 3-dimensional landscape. It is so satisfying to play, but it is still challenging, so definitely check out Ostrov if that sounds like your jam. Then next up is New Cycle, which I'd recommend to everyone who wasn't happy with Frostpunk 2 but still wanted to play a city building survival game set in a post-apocalyptic world. Solar flares have turned your city into chaos, and you'll need to grow your tiny settlements all while facing harsh challenges like sandstorms and refugee crises. It's also great because the game slowly transforms from survival into advanced industries. It's hard, it's depressing, but if you're into survival games with a focus on the city building and progression elements, then maybe try out New Cycle today. Then next on the list is Settlements Rising, which I really wanted to include, but because it's still in early access, I still think it needs a little bit more time and updates. This is a medieval city building and colony management game. Here you're going to harvest your resources, make buildings, and most of all, try to survive. As yeah, your villagers have their own life cycles and you'll need to face all kinds of risks to your city. So if you like Banished, you might really get some enjoyment from it. I'm glad the devs are still active with their updates, so I'm excited to see where this game goes. So try out Settlements Rising today if that looks like the game for you. And then lastly, we've got Tinyglade. Again, it's another diorama builder, but damn, just look at this game. Again, it's not technically a city builder, but you'll still get to build, or rather doodle, beautiful castles, cozy cottages, and romantic ruins. There's no grids, there's no traffic, there's no citizens crying about a lack of cemeteries. It's just laid back, chilled vibes. Honestly, I love these kind of games. It's very similar to Summer House 2, so maybe check that out. But if you're having a bad day and want something to unwind with, you won't find a better looking or more peaceful game than this. So I highly recommend checking out Tinyglade today. And there you have it, folks. What game or games have you played on this list that you recommend? Or what game did I leave out? Let me and other viewers know in the comment section below. You know I always try and comment when I can. And if you enjoyed the video, please don't forget to like or subscribe to help find more great games to get lost in. But other than that, it's Marco here from Easily Distracted Games, and as always, don't stop gaming.